Afternoon, everyone. This is Nitha Ramachandra from the NR Sports Show. This is episode 803. I'm joined by a really special guest. His name is Ben Verlander. He's a former baseball player, and he's the brother of Justin Verlander. He's currently the pitcher for the Houston Astros and recovering from Tommy John surgery. But Ben, he does some great stuff in baseball. He works for Fox, and he has his own show called Flippin, the podcast. We're going to get to all of that, and he just dropped a new episode, so go check that out. So first of all, Ben, I just want to say thank you for joining the show. It's truly an honor. Where are you guys located right now, and how are you guys doing?
At first, thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate it. I am out in LA now. I played baseball professionally for 5 years, and now I'm out here working for Fox as an MLB analyst. And I do have, like you said, I have my podcast. It's called Flippin' Bats, and so I'm out in the LA area now.
Yeah, sorry about that. Flipping the bats. There you go. But
No, you're good.
So first, I want to start off with your childhood growing up, and obviously, when did you start realizing that you wanted to play the game of baseball? Did you get to play any other sports before choosing baseball?
Yeah, I grew up around baseball with, my brother being 9 years older than me. I was always around the game, always around stadiums, always going to his games and traveling, and I just fell in love with the game at a young age. And yeah, I played a little bit of everything growing up. Literally everything you could think of I probably played, but I just fell in love with baseball, and nobody in my family forced me to play baseball, even though that's what they were used to. But I fell in love with it and continued to play it for a very long time.
So other than your brother, did you have like a role model that you looked up to in the game of baseball while going?
So I grew up a big Braves fan. So I was a big like Chipper and Andrew Jones fan. But in terms of a role model in baseball, probably like Al Kaline.
Mm-hmm.
I got to know him at a young age when I was with my brother being there. And then when I myself played for the Tigers, I got to be around him a lot. And we actually created we had a friendship, and unfortunately he passed away recently, but he was, as good of a player he was on the field, obviously a Hall of Fame player. He's one of the best people I've ever met off of the field, and that always meant a lot to me. How good of a person and how caring he was off the field.
So, would you say that your brother, throughout his career, helped you out to become a baseball player and learning the techniques? And obviously, you're a hitter, but did you get to play any other positions in baseball other than hitting?
Yeah, actually, in college, I was a two-way player. I was a pitcher and a hitter, somewhat of a Shohei Ohtani in college, if you will.
Yeah.
So, I would say a little bit when I was younger, I would ask him about certain things, pitching, but more so he was just there for me to talk about, like how to deal with adversity and how to, what direction to go in with my career and what I should be doing. And he's always been my biggest fan on the baseball field, and that's what meant the most to me.
So did you ever think of sticking with being a two-way player throughout your high school, college? I mean, in college too, being a pitcher and hitter. Did you ever think of sticking with that when you went to the majors?
I always wanted to, but I feel like that's rather unrealistic. Like what Ohtani's doing right now is unrealistic. Like nobody really does that. And going into my junior year in college, my head coach at Old Dominion kind of sat me down and was like, look, Ben, like I feel like you need to pick one or the other. You're not going to get drafted as both. So you should probably pick one or the other. And I did. And it was off and running from there, and was an All-American in college. And had a pretty good pro career.
So how many offers did you get coming out of high school in college? How many college scholarships or offers did you get?
I signed pretty early with Old Dominion.
Yeah.
They were one of the first programs that was going to be fine with me playing two-way, pitching and hitting in college. So I signed pretty early there. But I think I was definitely talking to other schools, like offer-wise. I think I made it fairly clear I was going to sign early with Old Dominion, but yeah, so I kind of signed before any other offers came flying in.
Hmm. So what were the main things that you learned as a college baseball player that got you ready for the majors, and what were the main keys that you learned from your manager and your teammates and at Old Dominion?
Definitely, just work ethic, I would say. Like it becomes super, once you get to college and once you're playing Division I baseball, it becomes a full-time job. It becomes like very regimented. You need to do this at this time and do this at this time, and I don't know how guys do it going from high school baseball straight to the pros. I really don't. It was such a big jump for me going from high school to college, and I learned so much about the game of baseball that it really helped me propel into pro baseball.
Hmm. Speaking of K-Line, I just realized that you had a jersey behind you with K-Line.
I do. He signed it for me recently. I was up in, this is probably a few months before he passed away, right before the pandemic. I was up in Detroit, and he signed that for me. So I'll always have that.
Yeah, so take me back to your draft experience and being with your family, waiting for your name to get called, and waiting with your brother too. And once your name got called, how grateful were you just to get your journey started and your career? And what was your brother's reaction to that and your family reaction?
Yeah, so I was playing summer ball. Right after my junior year, so the draft is in June or July, whatever it is. So I was away playing, but I knew I knew it was coming, and so my family came up there. Obviously, my brother's not there; he's playing, he's in season. But it was really, really an awesome moment. And one of the best moments of my life is being able to, like I had worked hard my entire life to get to that point, and to hear my name called was something I'll never forget. And yeah, obviously, shortly thereafter, my brother called and was super excited for me. And like I told you, he's been my biggest fan when it comes to playing baseball, and that always meant a lot to me.
Hmm. So I want to ask you though. You got to play with the Tigers, and you got to play with your brother on the same team. What was that like? And some players don't get to do that to play with their siblings. But for you, how was it? How was it feeling like and seeing him go out every fifth day pitching? Like he obviously one of the best pitchers out there.
Yeah, to be able to be in the same organization as him was really cool. I didn't know when I got drafted where I was going. I had a feeling what round, or I had an idea, and then I actually thought I was going to go to the Dodgers, one pick after the Tigers, and then I ended up going to the Tigers, obviously, and really cool, man, to be able to play in that same organization that I grew up around, and to be able to, wear the same jersey as him, and to, every once in a while be in the same clubhouse as him, and be around, Mr. K-Line and all those people that I had grown up creating relationships with. Just to be in that same organization was really cool.
Yeah, so this is a two-part question. So, what was it like playing in Detroit? Comerica Park is a nice ballpark to play in, and obviously you had a lot of great teammates around you, like Miguel Cabrera, one of the best hitters out there too. So, what was it like just playing in Detroit, Comerica Park?
So I loved Detroit, and I love Comerica Park. It's one of my favorites that I've ever been to. But the only time I played in it was in the pre-draft workout. Just 'cause I was in the minor leagues. So when I got to play with Miggy and all those guys in spring training and big league spring training. Um, Miggy is one of the best, man. He's one of the best to ever do it, and he's also one of the funniest, most happy guys on the baseball field you can ever be around. So yeah, being around him and playing baseball with him is something I'll certainly never forget.
Hmm. And the next part to this question, take me back to where you're at that day when you got the call up from Detroit, and what was that call like? And then when they said you had to pack your bags, you're coming to the big league team.
Well, that's why I never played in the big leagues. I was a minor
Oh,
leaguer for
okay.
5 years.
Mhm. Yeah. So let me. So what? So obviously, what did you learn as a minor league player growing up? I mean, minor league player, and not getting the chance to be in the majors. But what did you learn as a minor league player?
Yeah, just it's minor league baseball is a grind. You play 142 games in about 150 days, and you're so close to the major leagues that you just grind through it and enjoy the grind with your teammates. And I think that's what I learned the most, is just to appreciate what's happening, because it can be tough, man. It's certainly a grind, and you just go out and play and play hard and hope you continue to move up. And I was fortunate enough to make 2 All-Star games in my 5-year career, which was awesome, and had a blast doing that. And yeah, I loved every second of it.
So looking back at your career, how grateful are you that you got to play the game that you loved, and being able to get drafted by Detroit and just experience the game and play? How grateful are you to be in this position?
Yeah, man. It was, I worked really hard in my life to get to where I did, and to have the success that I did, and to play college baseball at a high level, and to become an All-American, and to play professional baseball. It's something that I'll have forever. Nobody can take away my achievements and my accomplishments. And it's never easy growing up with a brother that I do that's gonna be a Hall of Famer someday, and to end up having the career that I did, I'm pretty proud of.
So now transitioning to your after career, now you're an analyst for Fox, and how did that come about, and what's the experience like working for Fox?
Yeah, so I always knew when I finished playing baseball that I wanted to work and just be around the game of baseball. And I've always felt that I was put on this earth to talk about baseball. Obviously, I love my playing career and was pretty good, but I truly feel like I was meant to talk baseball. And not too long after my career ended, I was coming out to the LA area and met with a guy that works at Fox Sports in the digital world, and said, "Hey, would you be interested in working the MLB watch party that we do?" You'd come back out here and you'd host, and I ended up doing that. This past World Series with the Dodgers and the Rays, came out, hosted the World Series watch party with Nick Swisher, Rick Ankiel, Tino Martinez.
Wow.
And it was awesome, and it was a blast, and we all killed it, and I loved working with those guys. And eventually that parlayed into the job that I have now as a MLB analyst, and having my own show out here, and writing for Fox, and doing some social media stuff. It's kind of like a multimedia personality where I do all these different things, and it's a blast.
So for you, let me ask you this: for you being an analyst and obviously having your own show, what did you learn from the past year? Obviously, you went through the pandemic and when the sport shut down, but what have you learned as an analyst from last year till now, utilizing different platforms?
Yeah, I think that what you just said is the key, is using different platforms to all propel each other. Like everything that we do on this Fox Sports Digital team helps every other department. Like everything I write, it's promoted everywhere. And I have my podcast, my show, and I write about it, and it's promoted on everything. And I think that's been something that I've certainly learned in this space, is just that everything helps each other. And if every department works together as a team, the final product, the finished product, will be way much more successful. And that's been pretty cool to see it happen.
Yeah. So how do you balance it out? Being a Fox Sports analyst and having your show at the same time, and when do you usually use the Twitch stuff? Because how do you balance all these things out?
So my show, Flippin' Bats, is actually through Fox. So that is part of this job. So I write a couple times a week. I have the show that I record in studio on Mondays. and that comes out on Tuesdays. And I also, there's a lot of social media stuff going on that I do throughout the week. And I try and, stream on Twitch around all of that. So for example, if there's a day, Mondays are pretty much off the table because I'm recording for my show. But during the week, my job entails watching as much baseball as I can. So during the week, if there's a bunch of games at night, I'll stream during the day. If there's a bunch of games during the day, I'll stream at night. And that's kind of how I've gone about it. And it's been working great.
Wow. Yeah. So speaking of your show, what's that been like? Obviously, it's to be honest, it's one of the best out there in my opinion. And you have some fantastic guests on. And for example, I saw your recent one with Wade Miley, and then now Kyle Tucker is just out now. But how do you? So when you do your show and all, what are the main things that you want to get out of the show, and what do you try and learn with these current players you have on?
Yeah, my show is all about just showcasing baseball in a younger, more exciting way. For so long, baseball wasn't marketed great and portrayed great, and we have all these exciting players now that are so good for the game of baseball. And the game is different now. Everybody's flipping bats and swinging 3-0, and that's the name of my show, is flipping bats. And it's like, that's kind of the whole premise, is talking to these players like I'm in the locker room with them, having like a laid back locker room type conversation that's not super buttoned up, and talking about the game, talking about the exciting things that happen throughout the week that maybe wouldn't have been talked about before. Just the exciting stuff. And this game has become so exciting and full of young, exciting players. And that's my goal, is showcasing that, showing people how fun baseball is, and having really awesome conversations with some of the best players in the game. And it's been awesome so far.
So for you, what did you learn from the Wade Miley show and then the Kyle Tucker one you just brought up?
Yeah, so the Wade Miley one was awesome. He recently threw a no-hitter for the Reds, and I knew he had a Hulk tattoo on him when he threw, because his son put it on him, and I asked him about that, and he actually tried to scrub it off before his start, and it was so, like, they're not permanent, but he literally couldn't get it to scrub off. So he's like, all right, I guess I'm pitching with this, and went out there and obviously had an incredible, almost perfect start. So that was awesome. And then the episode that was just released is Kyle Tucker of the Astros, who is a really young guy and actually came up to the majors at like 22 years old. And just to talk to him about what it was like playing in a World Series in 2019 at such a young age is really cool. And also talking to him about, because he also has an older brother that is successful and made it to the big leagues. And we talked a little bit about that, the similarities of growing up with a brother that is really, really good at also what you're trying to do. So we definitely had a good conversation there. So I'm really looking forward to hearing people's feedback from this episode.
His brother is Cole Tucker, right? If I'm not mistaken.
His brother is Preston Tucker.
Oh, Preston Tucker. Okay, Preston Tucker. Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So what advice would you give these young kids that are trying to reach their goals?
Honestly, just to keep working hard. And I know that sounds cliche, but when I was coming up, I was never I wasn't always the best player on my teams. In Little League I would be, in high school I wasn't until my sophomore, junior year, and then I get to college, and again I just had to work harder than everybody else. I was never the most talented guy in the area ever. I just really, really, really worked hard and continued to get better. And it didn't matter if the guy that was theoretically in front of me at a position was there or not, because I would just work harder than them, and eventually got to the point where my hard work would pay off and I became better than everybody else around me. And I think there's a cool story in there because, there are people that it's easy for and that were blessed and gifted with the best arm in the world. I mean, use my brother as an example. We're both the opposite. Obviously my brother worked super, super hard, but he was blessed with an arm that throws 103 miles an hour, and I just wasn't. So he was always destined for where he ended up, and I didn't throw 103. I had to work harder than everybody and just outwork every single person around me, and became better and better and better at my craft. And for both of us to make it to a professional level on the opposite ends of the spectrum, playing a different position was really cool.
Yeah, these are the stories that we like on our show. It's like the underdog stories where people, it's not about the fame. It's how hard they work and how they got to their goal, and it's amazing. And but for you, speaking of your brother, Justin, how is he doing with the rehab process? And obviously he's out for the years, but do you see him coming back next year possibly with Houston or a different team?
Yeah, he's doing great. His rehab is going to plan. It's going really, really well, and he feels good. And yeah, I have no doubts. My brother will be back. He wants to pitch for a long time, and I'm certainly excited to continue to watch him in his career and hopefully break a bunch of records along the way and hopefully win another World Series. But yeah, he's doing great. He's feeling good and certainly wants to pitch next year and for a long time to come.
So back to your show, Flipping the Bats, and what are you most looking forward to for the next show? And what do you guys have coming up next? Guess what?
Yeah, so I have obviously the Kyle Tucker one just got released, so I'm excited to see that one. And on Monday, actually, I just recorded with Walker Buehler, the pitcher for the Dodgers, and he was awesome. So I'm really, really excited for that one as well. So we have that on tap. So yeah, that's going to be a super fun episode. And actually, one of the coolest things that I've done so far is I had Bernie Williams on, the legend, the Yankee legend, and talk to him. That episode turned out awesome. He talked for a long, long time about those Yankees years in the 90s and 2000 and 2001, where they were seemingly in every single World Series. And we just talked all about those teams, and I had a blast talking to him. And yeah, I'm excited for the future of the show for sure.
Yeah, I'm a big Yankee fan here in Jersey, so yeah. But yeah. So now we do this fun little segment. It's called the rapid fire segment. You ready for this?
Yep.
All right. So what are your thoughts so far in this season? And do you like the new extra innings rule?
So this season's been awesome. I feel like these young studs this is like the takeover. I feel like this is the year that they took the MLB by storm. And it's been a blast. And I'm fine with the extra inning rule. I just wish it didn't start in the 10th. I wish it started in like the 12th or the 13th to give teams a couple of innings still. But I'm fine with it. I just wish it started later.
Yeah. So I'm gonna put you on the spot here. Which young player right now has the best bat flip?
The best bat flip. Oh, that's tough between Tatis and Acuna. I'm gonna go with Acuna has the best bat flip. He has some awesome ones, that's for sure.
Have you had your brother on the show yet?
No, I have not. I have no doubts at some point I will. I think, but it's different for me in my life. We're 9 years apart, and I've always played baseball and wanted to be at the same level he did. And I always want to be successful in my own right, which was hard playing baseball. Everything you do, you're associated with him. So no matter how successful I became, I got to college and it's, blah, blah, blah. And I got to pro ball and it's, it could be because of this and your last name and blah, blah, blah. So I've always wanted to be successful on my own right. That's always been something that's important to me, and to not be associated with, not for my success not to be associated with him. I love him, but I love him so much, and it can be difficult. However, going in the same field, so to have this and to have my show, that I want to make my show successful in its own right. And I would love to have him on at some point. But while this is getting off the ground, it's meant a lot to me to see it progress the way it has.
Funniest person that you work with at Fox.
Funniest person that I work with, man. I'm gonna have to go because I'm still getting to know everybody. I'm kind of new out here, but I'm definitely gonna go with Mike Buckland, man. He's he's really funny, and we've started we play disc golf a lot together, and it's I'm definitely gonna go with Mike Buckland.
Huh. So there's a we've been having a debate here in New York, New Jersey. Who's the better pitcher right now, DeGrom or Cole? What do you think, DeGrom or Cole?
Oh man, that's such a tough question. But I feel like you have to go DeGrom right now. Right now it's actually not a super tough question. I feel like DeGrom is clearly the best pitcher on the planet right now. He has a 0.71 ERA. That's absurd.
Yeah.
So I think DeGrom has forced himself out of the conversation of who's the best pitcher in baseball, because it's him, man. Like he is the best pitcher on the planet right now. But I do think Garrett is the best pitcher over in the American League. But that race over in the American League is getting tighter and tighter. You got a bunch of guys like, some under the radar guys like John Means and Carlos Rodon, and then there's some popular guys, Shane Bieber, Tyler Glasnow. There's some great arms over there, as well as the National League. I just feel like DeGrom is pulling away with it.
If you want to talk about like older veterans, how about Rich Hill and Kevin Guzman from San Francisco and Tampa Bay? What do you think about those guys right now?
It is awesome to see them doing what they're doing. I think, obviously Gosman out in San Francisco, coming out of nowhere and just having an absolutely brilliant year has been so awesome to see. And just what that Giants team is doing in general out there in San Francisco is awesome to see. And he's a huge part in that. And then to see, I feel like the Rays just tend to get the best out of everybody.
Yeah.
I think they do an incredible job with their organization and with their numbers and analytics, and just from the top down, getting the absolute best out of the person that they have. And it's really cool to see Rich Hill doing what he's doing too.
Are you concerned about the Yankees' struggles right now? Because they can't hit, but problem is they're inconsistent where they have a hot streak and then they go down again. Are you concerned with the Yankees right now?
Yeah. And had you asked me a couple weeks ago, I would have said no. It's still early; they'll be fine. But watching them in that series against the Tigers, where they actually got swept against one of at the time I think the worst team in the league, if not one of, and that's tough to see, man. Like at this point in the year, the end of May, you can't be getting swept by teams like that. And not only did they get swept, they just got owned in every facet of the game and didn't look good. And I don't know what the answer is there. It doesn't, they're not hitting. Then when they are putting up a few runs, they're not pitching. So I don't know if it's maybe time for a change there in New York at the top. We'll have to see for sure. But I mean, I don't know. You're a Yankees fan. Are you on board with seeing like Aaron Boone go?
I mean, as of right now, we can take anything. We can if he goes, I'm fine. I'm fine with anything because we need major change. I think if George Steinbrenner was still alive, this would not happen. He would he would have brought in he would have brought in your brother too. By the way, we could have had Cole, Verlander, sure. We could have had everybody on the team. That George Steinbrenner, he would have spent the whole MLB team. So that's but I think Boone. I think it starts with Boone. Obviously, I'm not putting all the blame on Boone. It's the players too. But I think at some point, I think Cashman needs to realize in the front office that it's time to move on for another manager. I think.
Yeah.
But for you, what are your surprise teams? Of obviously you just mentioned the Giants, but what other surprise teams do you see right now?
Yeah, first and foremost is the Giants. I mean, they have they hit well last year, but nobody expected them in the NL West. You have the Dodgers and the Padres out there, and that's what everybody thought this race would be. And at this point, it's clear that the Giants are a team that has asserted themselves in this race and is a good baseball team. And to be right in the thick of things, right in the middle, actually, right now in the standings of the Padres and the Dodgers is awesome to see. And it's led by guys like Gosman and that starting pitching rotation that has been so awesome. And another one for me is the Chicago Cubs. I mean, coming into the year, they got rid of Darvish. It's what is this team going to be? Are they even going to compete? And we're looking at them right now in the lead in the NL Central, and Chris Bryant and Javi Baez and Anthony Rizzo are all having, resurgent type years. Chris Bryant's having an MVP type of season. Craig Kimbrell's looks like the closer he was when he was with the Braves. So definitely the Cubs.
Yeah, their bullpen is nasty.
Yeah.
So I gotta ask you this: so, who's more competitive, you or your brother?
That's a tough one, man. I think my brother's one of the most competitive people on the planet, and I picked all of that up from him. We are super, super competitive. It doesn't matter what I'm doing, where I'm doing it. Sometimes in the eyes of others, it can be to a fault, but I will know, that's just the way I live my life is no matter what I do, I'm going to be ultra competitive and want to beat you at anything. And it's something that I definitely learned from my brothers. So and learned growing up being so competitive with each other, him being 9 years older, something I learned from him. So it's hard to pinpoint who exactly is more competitive because I learned directly from him to be competitive.
Yeah. So a couple more things before I let you go. So what are your thoughts so far on this 6 no-hitter so far in this season?
Yeah, it's been absolutely insane. And the record in the modern era is 7, and we're already at 6.
Mm-hmm.
So to see 6 of them already has just been insane. And it seemed like for a couple week stretch there, every other day we were being told, all right, no hitter, turn on the TV quick.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, what is going on? And I have my thoughts of what is going on, but like still, I think in a nutshell, pitchers are getting more and more dominant. And we're seeing guys like DeGrom throwing 102 miles an hour with an absolute wipeout slider. And it's like, how do you hit that? How pitching has progressed so much in the last 10, 20, 30 years that they're just dominating the game like we've never seen.
So what did you guys do when your brother won the World Series in 19 with the Astros?
So that was in 17.
17, sorry.
And it was the Dodgers Astros, and it was an incredible series. And I was there for every game of the series, back and forth from Houston or from LA to Houston, back to LA. And they won in a game 7 and was down on the field and got to. It was a pretty cool picture holding the trophy up with my brother and us celebrating on the field. And honestly, it was a moment that I'll never forget. I know how hard he has worked for that. I know how hard, in the backyard growing up, we would, just be there saying, all right, game 7 of the World Series, let's do this. And then for him to be there and to do it was, and to be there with him and to get to go on the field with him was one of the coolest experiences of my life.
So the last 2 things here, our team is part of this foundation called the Hugh Jackson Foundation. He's a former NFL coach, but now he's an offensive coordinator at Tennessee State with Eddie George. And we're trying to help him prevent human trafficking and making sure the kids stay safe and the community stays safe. So I'll send you this page so you can go check it out. And the last thing here, would you like to say anything to all the nurses, doctors, and essential workers right now?
Oh man, I can't thank them enough for everything they did. Always do, but especially during the pandemic, and just it's powerful, man. And for seemingly two years, their life has revolved around them and the amount of lives they've saved, and they're risking their own lives during a time period that was so scary in our world. And I can't thank them enough for putting themselves out there in harm's way, for the betterment of the country and the world as a whole. It's powerful, really.
Yeah, well said. And there it is. That wraps up episode 803 for the NR Sports Show with Ben Verlander, a former baseball player. Now he's a Fox Sports analyst, and he has his own show, Flippin' the Bats. Go check it out. And obviously, he's a brother of Justin Verlander. This was an honor for you joining the show. Keep up the great work, and you guys you're one of the best out there when it comes to analyzing the game. And we would like to have you back as a returning guest so you can meet the full team at some point.
I really appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for having me, and I appreciate it. It was a lot of fun, and thanks for letting me promote the show on here, Flippin' Bats. I hope I know you check it out, but I hope everybody does. It'd mean a lot.
Yeah, thank you, and you and your family stay safe.
Of course, man. Thanks.